Want to use a PGR in your cereals but have no time for a separate pass? Manipulator PGR can be applied as early as one tiller. Just add it to your herbicide to reduce lodging, increase harvest efficiency, and maximize yields. Talk to your retailer for more info and to confirm acceptable tank mixes.
And we are going to talk about what's going on in the world of the beef industry. Lots to chat about here, including a fresh off a trip to South Korea on a trade mission. We're talking to Nathan Phinney. He is president of the Canadian Cattle Association based out of New Brunswick. How's it going today, Nathan?
Great, Sean. How are you?
Hey, man, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing good. Okay, so you just got back from South Korea. You were yourself, Jennifer Babcock from CCA, and I'm assuming some of the others in some of the associations were in South Korea. A very important market for Canadian proteins. You went along with Trade Minister Ng. What's your takeaway from the trip?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, we had all stakeholders there from the beef industry. Canada Beef was there. President Eric Bienvenue, he was there as well as YG, who was based out of South Korea for Canada Beef. It's a market that we have, as an industry, have wanted more than what we're getting for a long time. It's been on our wish list. We see the value in it, and I think they really see the value and desire our Canadian product. And we were there to help showcase it and let them know that we're willing to do whatever we need to help facilitate getting more product over there.
Well, what's preventing us from getting more product over there?
It's not the desire, I can tell you that. We met with some retailers and some restaurant chain owners, and they love our product. They love, how Canadian beef is well marbled. They love, the food safety that comes with it. But the biggest issue right now that we're dealing with is when we signed our bilateral agreement some years ago, we were at a very, very high tariff rate, and that's eventually going to phase out over time down to zero. But right now, the U.S. has an 8% tariff advantage over us, and Australia has right around 5%. So cheaper product just because of the tariff rate is the reasons why there's more of the U.S. and Australia taking up the marketplace than it is the Canadian beef.
So what needs to be done to lower those tariff rates for Canadian product going into South Korea?
Yeah, so that was the reason why we were over there, mainly to, CCA was with Trade Minister Ng, was to talk about that and hear from, importers and retailers and wholesalers that want our product and more of it, but that being the main issue. So, I think that's something that we continue to push on. I know the agreements are signed and binding, but we also saw a couple of years ago those tariff rates, just due to food security reasons around COVID, they dropped them down to zero, and our shipments went up 165% during that small time. Then they were put back in place, the year after, and we started to see the decline again from that high. So we're going to continue to work diligently on, trying to get those down quicker to match the U.S. would be ideal, so that we can build these relationships, we can get the markets established, and go in there with a level playing field.
Does the U.S. have the advantage on tariffs? I can't remember. Did they negotiate a bilateral agreement directly with South Korea to get to those rates?
They did, yeah. So the U.S. has a bilateral agreement, Canada has a bilateral agreement, as does Australia. And right now, the U.S. it comes down by 2.3% a year. The U.S. is at 8% currently, and Canada is at 16% as of this year. So you can see the difference just in the costing of that, and that's what we consistently heard. So the door wasn't shut. I think there's opportunity there to align ourselves and go that route. One thing that with this Asian Indo-Pacific market, it's all relationship building. So if you can build those solid foundational relationships with, between the suppliers and the industry back here, that goes a long ways. So what we're saying is we need to be there at the table, a lot with the U.S. at the same time, and building these relationships, because they'll serve you well going forward.
Curious if some of those processors or the retail chains in South Korea brought up what's happening regarding HPAI and dairy cattle, and whether that worked its way into some of your beef trade discussions over there.
Yeah, no, it didn't come up at all over there. It's predominantly being found in milk in the U.S. right now, and as we're following it very, very closely, it hasn't been detected or found in beef industries. So, we as an industry are continuing to work with CFIA and staying, in daily, if not hourly, contact with our counterpart NCBA and the USDA, staying on top of this and monitoring it, and I think just like everything, you're learning more as you go. But right now, everything is not a health issue, and so we're just trying to make sure everything's mitigated, and continue to keep these industries as strong as possible.
When you are having those conversations with CFIA, what's your messaging to them? Is CCA comfortable with the level of surveillance? What level of surveillance is in place, or what's the ask?
No, and I mean, as it turns out, or it seems from USDA right now, it's not animal-to-animal transmission. So, we're continuing to monitor. There were states that monitored beef herds around some of these dairy herds, and there was no detection found. Ultimately, avian influenza seems to be certain times of year that it is at a certain high, and that happens a lot of the time when the migration is going on with migratory birds. So, if it's an airborne pathogen or virus, you've got however many hundreds of millions of ducks and geese, migratory birds coming back and forth across the border. So we can stay diligent on the ground and make sure we're monitoring that. But, it's like any other virus, it has many ways it can travel. So we're going to continue to work with them and monitor our industries and ensure that everything's on the up and up and safe for everything moving forward.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but I think there's like 3,600 dairy animals that came north out of the U.S. into Canada in 2023. We know that there is a tremendous amount of animal flow back and forth, integrated value chain in the beef sector. So working country to country, it kind of reminds me a little bit of ASF, right? And some of the proactive work that was done there between Canada and the U.S. That's the kind of cooperation that we need. So it's good to hear that is happening.
Yes.
On another point, next week, or maybe later this week, you're headed to Mexico. There's no rest for the wicked when you're in Nathan Phinney's position. So what's the point of the mission to Mexico?
So it's CNOG's annual meeting in Hermosillo. So we'll be going down with the U.S. NCBA and CCA will be going there, and we'll have a trilateral meeting set up. It's a pretty chock-full agenda, but one of the first things that's on the agenda that will be discussed is the voluntary product to U.S. We know it's in place, and we know that it's coming into force in January of 26. But both Mexico and Canada are reiterating to the U.S. that we're not enthused about the passing of that, and that we're going to continue to monitor. And a lot of pre-work is going to go into the next year and a half, working towards a smooth review of the CUSMA deal. The work doesn't begin the day that the deal's up for review. So we're gonna continue to push forward and work and try to make sure that our largest trading partner, the borders stay open and we have free and flowing trade like we've all experienced and what both sides of the border need to have.
Yeah, July 1st of 2026, all three partners in that CUSMA USMCA deal must provide, their where they sit on it, whether they're fine with the current agreement or they want to put it up for review or reopening of it. hanging out with Minister Ng for a little bit of time in South Korea. Did you get any indication for? You want to break any news here? How do you think Canada feels about the Kuzma USMCA deal at this point?
I think we're trusted trading partners. We're best friends. We know that. And like all relationships, the odd times there are the few ups and downs and issues that need to be worked out. We're going to continue to reiterate that. And for the beef industry, the integrated market can't be talked about enough of how important that is, and trying not to put up barriers to prevent that. So, we got some work to do here. There's a private members bill, as we all know, that's going on in the Senate right now, and that's Bill 282, which is, is protection of supply management. And not that we're making an agriculture versus agriculture, but anything like that could potentially handcuff some negotiators going into these deals and not being able to lay everything on the table, could have a negative outcome potentially for anybody in industry, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. So, the work's going to continue on those fronts, and see if we can get them resolved in the next year and a half, and make sure that the transition and the review goes as smoothly as possible.
Yeah. Nathan, before I let you go, how are things on the ranch there in New Brunswick?
Good. There's the green grass is coming, and there's starting to be a little bit of seed put in the ground. So from all the moisture that we did have here, we have been lucky enough to get some sunshine and a little bit of drier weather. So, things here look pretty good. Beef prices are exceptional. So, there's some optimism here for sure.
Well, I appreciate you carving out some time for us here. I know you got a lot of work to do on the ranch before you have to catch a plane to Mexico. So, hey, thanks so much. All the best to you.
No problem. Anytime, Sean. Thank you.